Hello, this is Nick Motion. I'm motion graphics artist and I want to show you today how I did this effect using Cinema4D X-particles and Redshift. Okay, let's go. So make a rectangle, turn it around, make it editable, delete points, we don't need it. So we have the line, go to the mesh axis point, axis center, and execute the command. It will transfer the pivot point to the center of the spline. Okay, select coordinates and zero out all coordinates. Make it longer. Add more points to the spline. Click Shift C and find round command. Change type to linear and add more points. 200, 500, doesn't matter. We just need a lot of points. Okay. Now select rectangle and holding Alt create cloner. Just create a grid of these splines with a lot of splines. Hide original cloner object and select our now with cloner splines with middle mouse, right click and connect objects plus delete. Okay, so we're ready to create our X-particle simulation system. Create X-particle system, delete emitter, we don't need it. Go to dynamics and create Explosion FX. Okay. Make the bounding box of Explosia a lot bigger so we can set our source object and give it a space to smoke to go up. Okay, and just add Explosia source tag on the object and let's test. Okay, so it's working. Now adjust our composition project frame rate for length of the timeline. And now we can create the advection effect. Select our splines and right click, open the Cinema4D text and go to X-particle text and find XP Dynamics. Select Dynamics, go to Tag and create emitter. Yep, and go back to Dynamics and set rigidity to 0. We don't need this at all to be rigid. Okay, now go just to Explosive FX and to Advection tab and set Advect particles on. And let's look. Okay, we see it working already, but it works not so smooth as I want. As you can see, the shape is broken, but I need it like smooth and good. And now to fix this, first of all, let's add a little bit of space for Explosia to work. Select our dynamics tag, go to constraints tab and hit on structure constraint. And now check this out. It's smooth and it's good, and this is what I wanted. Okay. So I decided to lower a little bit of strength of velocity, so as you can see it pulls all the splines to the top, but I don't think that's good, so I decided to lower this bar of velocity, and now it must not go so far up. Okay, it can be even lower. So in this option we just set the strength of the velocity that actually works on the spline. And now we will render it out with the Redshift. So to visualize your spline, just add the Redshift tag on the splines and in a mode select the capsules, so it creates the capsules around all the splines. So we now like see it in the render view. And from now on, it started just standard visualizing process. You add the grounds. I added a camera movement, as you see here. And you just started to play with the look and how it feels in the camera. I added a dome light, selected the HDRI map, just a simple HDRI map from HDRI Heaven. You can choose any that you want, it's free to use. And I usually don't use HDRIs as the main source of light, so I turned exposure down and created my first area light. As you can see, I locked the camera view in the render view, so I can change my position of camera and still see what's going on in frame. Still playing with the lights, trying to illuminate separately main object and background to have more creative control over the image. I turned on my GI. Now we have some interesting lights on the object. I added in the shader, I added some backlight and just duplicated the color and added the backlight. Turn down the specular, so add more roughness to the material. And from this point it's just playing with the light with all settings, but in general I like the main position, main direction of the lights. Okay, so now I wanted to add a little twist to this setup, and I decided not to use the splines for visualizing, but I will be visualizing the points that move the splines, that actually interacts with smoke and make the dynamic spline movement. So just add the redshift tag on the emitter and set mode to optimize spheres. Now I can add a little bit of scale, so we just like seeing the chains of object connected to each other and moving by the smoke. I create another material for particles because I wanted to use the particle information to shade it, but as you see, the shader that we use for wires perfectly fine for this. It's backlighting, it's orange, it's beautiful. And now what I wanted to do is to find the display property and set the random color to show you how actually we can use this information in Redshift. So now I make a little preview for you just to see what's going on. And yep, so okay, go to the particle shader and add user data. You color user data. For these purposes, I just want you to show that all the options in the emitter display we can use as shading data. So now you can see I set the display type as random color for each particle, and it works as it goes. It creates random color for each particle, and we can use it as it is in diffuse color. So we see is like this strange color for theme. We can add this to the emission color, and it will be emit. But this time I wanted to show you something even more funny. If you add a scalar user data, it's another user data object that has different types of information. So Advection is not just transferring the speed of movement, it's transferring actually the data, like smoke, fuel temperature, color, and other types of data, so we can use it in the shading, in animation, in anywhere. So select Scalar user data and it need to be like from the 0, so the changes start working. I will use Scalar user data with smoke simulation, with smoke information, to visualize this collision effect on the splines, and I will just simply add it to the emission color channel. So when the particles starts to move, the smoke channel will lights up with the white color. And as you can see, it works. So this is the way you can use the advection data in a RF simulation in shading, and it creates even more interesting effects for your works, for your projects. That's all, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Make sure to subscribe to my social media and have fun. Bye.